Okay, in this question we have a photon and it's in mercury and it's when it jumps from F to B. So we have our F level right here and our B level right here. So F is 2.68, B is 5.74. So we just do the subtraction between these two levels, and that gives us the energy in electron volts. This question says, the quarks that compose a baryon may have charges of what? Well, first, baryons are made up of 3 quarks, so these have to be quarks. Now remember that quarks have fractional charges, and when we add them, they have to add up to a whole number. So plus 2/3, and minus 1/3 gives us +1. So that's our answer. But let's look at why the other ones are wrong. These add up to a fractional charge, so that can't be a particle. It has to be a whole number. -1, and 0, these are not quarks because they're not fractional charges. And the last one also does not add up to a whole number. So this one sounds a lot more difficult than it is. It says tritium, which you've probably never heard of, is a radioactive form of hydrogen. And a tritium nucleus is composed of 1 proton and 2 neutrons. So here's the important part. So when it decays, it emits a beta particle, which is an electron, and an anti-neutrino to form a new stable form of helium. During beta decay, a neutron is spontaneously transformed into a proton and an electron and an antineutrino. So don't worry about all of this stuff right now. Let's just look at what the question's asking. What is the total number of quarks in a tritium nucleus? Well, they told us a tritium nucleus is made up of 1 proton and 2 neutrons. So that's a proton, 2 neutrons. These are baryons, so they each composed of 3 quarks, so that's 9 quarks. So it's not that crazy of a question. What is the total charge in elementary charges of a proton, an electron, and an antineutrino? Well, we know that the elementary charge of a proton is +1. The elementary charge of an electron is -1. And a neutrino has no charge. And that's on the chart, in case you forget that these have a charge of 0. So +1 and -1, that gives us a charge of 0. And then the last question says, what fundamental interaction is responsible for binding the protons and the neutrons together? What force attracts protons and neutrons? Well, they're made up of quarks, and quarks have a strong force. This question says, determine the amount of matter in kilograms that must be converted to energy to yield 1 gigajoule. So giga is the prefix of 10 to the 9th. So there's giga, 10 to the 9th. So that's 1 times 10 to the 9th joules. We know the energy, and we know the speed of light in a vacuum squared, and that gives us the mass. This one says a gamma ray photon and a microwave photon are traveling in a vacuum. Compared to the wavelength and energy of the gamma ray photon, the microwave photon has what? Well, we know E equals hc over lambda. It's on the reference table. So the microwave has a larger wavelength, therefore its energy is shorter. The bigger this number is, the smaller that number is. According to the Standard Model, a neutrino is what? Well, that's straight from the chart here. So a neutrino is classified as a lepton. These are all your leptons. Which combination of quarks produces a neutral baryon? This question is a pain in the butt because you have to go through and add them all up to find out which one gives you a charge of 0. So the first one is charm, top, strange. So we have to go here and say charm, top, strange, add those together and see what we get. That is not neutral. You do it for down, strange, bottom. Again, look them up. Down, strange, bottom, add them up. And the only one of these 4 that adds to 0 is up, down, strange. So up, down, strange is plus 2/3, minus 1/3, minus 1/3. So that adds up to 0. So that's neutral, and that's our answer. This final question gives us a mass, and it's turned into energy, and they want to know how much energy that is. Well, that's E equals mc squared. They gave us the mass, we know the speed of light in a vacuum, just square it, and that gives us 18 joules, but they put it into scientific notation, so 1.8 times 10 to the minus 1 joules.